Michael. Here we are. It's the home stretch. It's December. We're almost out of 2020. We're almost done with this.
We're at the end game now.
This fucking trash fire of a year. I actually saw a meme today that was great. That was like a guy. I'm sure it's a meme. It's a guy that was like December 31st, 11:59 p.m. And then it was like he was like, yeah. And then in the next one it said 11:60 p.m. And he was like, what? And I was like, no. But yes,
I saw one where it was like December 32nd.
Yes, yeah. So yes, we are almost done with 2020, which has been one of the most hectic years of all time, and that means that this is like third to the last. This might be second to the last Rage Select podcast. I don't remember. I'm staying in town this week, so I'll probably do a podcast on the week of Christmas, just before. I don't know. I don't know. It's too far ahead. It's too far ahead. Fuck it.
That's future Jeff's problem.
We'll do it live on the Rage Select podcast here on Rage Select with me, Jeff.
And I'm Mike.
And yes, we have a podcast this week. I actually think that this week might have shown me how, like, even though last week and like every other week of the year, I've been like, well, there's not very much news this week. This week I was like, damn, there is very little news this week. So, I'm hoping that we're going to get a full old school podcast out of it. But before we start, I did something last week, Michael.
What'd you do?
Outside of throwing out my back and then not going to sleep, which I should have been doing because my back was healing. I totally forgot that in October, Jason Pargin put out the sequel to Futuristic Violence and Fancy Suits. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
John
Those sound
dies.
like words.
John dies at the end. David Wong, you know that?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know that.
He has another book series called Futuristic Violence and Fancy Suits that's about like this lawless town where people kind of get weird superpowers, but it's very realistic, and so everybody's kind of fucked up. And that came out a few years back, and then he put out the sequel around, it was like October 15th or something like that. I forgot about it. And then I remembered it last week, and I downloaded it, and I read it from cover to cover in like a day and a half because I really like his books.
That's good. Yeah, because I've always heard really good stuff about his stuff.
Yeah, the John dies at the end stuff is really good horror, and then this is, I think, really good sci-fi. I will say I really enjoyed it. I really like it a whole lot. I don't want to go too far down this road, but what I want to hear, well, what I will say is that, like, if you're the kind of person who objects to like politics in your books, I would not read this book. Like,
okay.
The concept of Futuristic Violence and Fancy Suits is that this guy, this like millionaire, created this town that literally has no laws in the middle of the desert. And like at a certain point he dies, and his kind of deadbeat daughter that he had with a stripper a long time ago, this is on the first book, inherits the town along with this like kind of group of like half FBI agents, half mob enforcers that used to work for this guy. And her name is Zoe. The sequel book is called Zoe Punches the Future in the Dick. And like there's a pretty big subplot in that about how, like, in this future, everybody's got a camera that's running 24 hours a day that's, like, around them. And there's, like, a huge group of essentially, like, misogynist streamers in this town that fucking hate Zoe, the main character. And they're always, like, negging her and making fun of her and, like, tormenting her. And the book is, like, these lonely, sad sacks of shitty shit are fucking garbage. So, like, you know, this has some parallels to, you know, stuff about like cam girls,
Ready Player 2 readers, that kind of thing.
Right. So like, yeah, if you, and it's very, the book is very much on the side of the poor girl who's getting harassed by a bunch of shitty, specifically man baby trolls online that are called out at every opportunity for being bad people. So like if you heard that, you're just like rolled your eyes and you're not into it, do not read it. If you heard that, you were like, oh, that sounds fun. Also, there's like people with like off-brand superpowers that may let them like throw a car or may make their arm like rip off of its socket and like fly off. Yeah, like part of the concept of the first book is that one of the last things that the guy did in this thing is he had this this like maker machine that could make these chips that you could implant in people to give them superpowers with like surgery, but only the one thing works. And so like there's all this black market off-brand superpower shit going on, but most of it will fuck you up really bad, really fast, and only crazy people use it. So but anyway, I liked it. I bought it. I really liked it. I do think it's like even on Kindle right now, it's $15 and it's only about 370 pages, which I usually
that's not too long.
I usually expect to pay $7 or maybe $8 for a 370 page book, but then I'm all addicted to, fucking Space Marine Johnson and his 18 book series that's all on Kindle Unlimited. So how about you, Michael? What did you do last week? Anything fun?
I rewatched all of Freakazoid.
Super Teen Extraordinaire.
Yeah, it's fucking great still. Like I have the whole thing on DVD, and people kept asking me, "Where's the streaming?" I'm like, "It's not. I just I've owned it for like a decade now."
Yeah,
kind of thing on DVD, and every now and then I'll pull out the series, and I appreciate that show so much more now. But I realize just how fucking insane it is, and that there was no way it was going to survive the '90s, and the fact that it made it to 2 seasons is a fucking miracle. It would be beloved now if it was on the air now, like 100%. It's one of the few shows that was about the internet that wasn't you like, oh, it's going to be a utopia of stuff. It's like, no, it's going to be batshit insane.
Yeah,
and it was the only thing that really I feel like knew that from the get go.
I feel like there were a lot of cartoons in the 90s that like would really be big today. That like. I still wonder, how did The Head ever get made? Who gave somebody money to make The Head? Like,
oh no, yeah, absolutely. There's so many shows from that time period that you're like, how did this happen?
Yeah, I think a lot of it was just MTV slinging money around. But yeah,
Freakazoid is a definite like, how did this happen? But there's a behind the scenes of how it happened. And it's very strange how it came to be, because Bruce Timm and Paul Dini had an idea for a serious superhero TV show, like the way Static Shock and Batman Beyond was, kind of thing. And they were going to do that with Freakazoid. So he has all this like concept art and stuff of like villains and like that never appeared in the show that he wanted to be their own thing that you can find online. Like it's like a magic girl like turning Freakazoid into like half of a Jack in the Box, while Steph and his brother like look on, kind of thing. But it looks like it would have been a serious like normal one of those shows. But Steven Spielberg was like, no, I want it to be funny. And he's like, I don't know if I can do that. And so he gave it to the people who made Freakazoid, and they had 6 months to make the show, which is why the first season is so batshit insane. They're like, we didn't have time for anything. Like, we just had to write it and hope for the best kind of thing.
That's interesting. I've been laboring for years under the impression, somebody once told me, this is before the internet, where somebody once said to me that, like, Mike Aldred went to the WB to pitch Madman, the comic, as a show, and that like they decided not to pick it up, and then Freakazoid came out, which was like pretty much just Madman with the serial numbers filed off and enough changes that nobody was going to get sued for
I've
it.
heard that,
but
I've heard that too, but I feel like it's a mixture of the two.
Yeah,
I feel like maybe Bruce Timm saw that and then tried to pitch it that way.
Yeah,
but Steven Spielberg was like, I want it to be funny. And then everybody else worked on the rest of it. They probably didn't even know that's what was going on, for all they know.
Yeah,
but it seems that at least the main creative team had no idea that that's probably where. Like, I have a feeling that still there's a lot of truth to that, because it happens all the time. Like, there's the webcomic Least I Could Do. He pitched the show to like some network in Canada, and they made a show that was literally just that show, or literally just those characters, but they turned the characters black and Middle Eastern kind of thing.
Okay.
Well, and like it's super obvious when you put them right next to each other.
The other problem,
they're still like, no, we didn't do that. It's completely different.
The other problem that I have is that I'm not really that familiar with Madman, the comic. Like,
I'm not either.
So like,
I've seen like images of them, and I'm like, I'm sure this is fun, but I've never read into it.
And like, I think I heard this like third hand at a comic book store one time where I was like, I like Freakazoid. The guy was like, no, you should like, I'm going to tell you, there was this guy. And so I don't even even know. Also,
it comes up on the internet all the time, that specific story. It pops up every now and then when somebody brings up Freakazoid every fucking time.
Yeah. Well, speaking of internet stories, we've got some internet stories. Stories. They are not about Freakazoid. They are about video games.
Can they be about Freakazoid though?
I don't think so. See, I read Zoe Punches the Future in the Dick last week, so I know a lot about that. I did not watch all of Freakazoid, so I don't know all the stuff from Freakazoid right
Here's
now.
the thing, even if you watched all of Freakazoid, I don't think you would know all of Freakazoid.
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair.
That's
fair
one
criticism.
of those shows.
Yeah.
If anything, our relationship is I'm Freakazoid and you're Cosgrove at this point.
That's a thing, I guess.
It checks out, is all I'm saying.
You know what? I'll let the audience be the judge of that. Anyway, let's jump into some news. This is really okay. This is like half news, half some other shit. Like, we need to not get like too excited when I say this. Okay, so the PlayStation 5 is sold out and nobody can get them. And if I was running a less ethical show, I would have started with like, you can't even get a PlayStation 5 and Sony's already getting ready to sell you a PS5 Pro version. What the fuck? Sony filed a bunch of patents this week. Now, and one of them is this dual GPU PS5. Which basically has like a pair of, what do they call them? They're like SoC, system on chip. And basically they're like two GPUs that from the patent would ostensibly, like the first one would do most of the graphics rendering, and then the second one would basically like smooth them all out on the way out of the console. This actually makes a lot of sense to me. Like, first, okay, let's back it up for a minute, and because there's a lot going on here. First off, anybody out there who thinks that like there isn't going to be an Xbox Series Y or a PlayStation 5 Pro, you are delusional, Jack. Like, I know
it's true.
I know we're right in the middle of it, but they proved last time they could get a whole bunch of people to go out and buy another console mid-cycle and split the generation to have different performance levels. So like,
hell, the Switch did it, and it wasn't even that long ago.
Yeah. So they're going to do it, and like, let's all be honest, they're going to do it again in like February. They're going to put out the 4K Switch Pro, whatever. But okay, so first
Switch U.
Yeah, Switch U. Oh God. First things first. There's going to be a second generation of these somehow, some way. There's going to be a hardware refresh. We've never had a console that hasn't. This actually makes a lot of sense to me when you think about the way that we're currently looking at this, the way that this next gen is stacking up. We have this option, right, of like high graphical fidelity or high frame rate. But if you were to double your GPU processing, you could do like the 60 frames per second rendering on one GPU and then add like ray trace lighting and higher textures in on a second processing pass before it shoves out the back of it. And that would be a selling point, right? It'd be like, hey, you spent 3 years having to choose between, like, does it look super good or is it 60 frames per second? Well, why choose? Now we've got the PlayStation 5.1 that can do both. Never have to switch on performance mode again. So I think that makes a lot of sense.
No, it does.
A lot of sense.
It is the whole PS4 Pro thing, where it's like they haven't figured out a way to make it cost effective yet. If that's the case, like they made the patent because they're like, well, this is an idea that we have, but cost wise, we haven't figured it out. Because if they did, they would have just done it right away, kind of thing. And they had a hard enough time just making the ones they made now, for that matter. And I feel like that's probably the same with the Xbox. I'm sure they're working on a patent for something similar where they're gonna put another one on top of it and then double the power or something fucking crazy.
They just saw open the side of an Xbox Series X and then just like glue another Series X to it. They're like, it's still smaller than the PlayStation. Am I right, you guys? Yeah,
They're trying to make it not an actual fridge that's powered first, and then they'll go from there.
This came with a bunch of other patents. Like there was a bunch of patents for a new Sony VR headset that was smaller. It was like quite a bit smaller that had like haptics in it. Speaking of the Xbox, I was actually thinking the other day that like I really think that the first thing that Microsoft needs to do is fucking make a new controller that has that fucking feedback, that haptic shit in it, because man, that is what's keeping me on my PlayStation right now. Is that every time I went back to Yakuza and I had the old school rumble and I was just like, ew.
What's the thing is the PS5 feels like a new console. Like we've talked about this before, but it feels like it is in fact a new console.
Yeah.
Like the Xbox Series X just feels like an Xbox One X that's slightly stronger, and that's all it is. Like the controllers are the same, the menus are the same kind of thing. The only thing different is its insides and I guess the outside of it, really.
Yeah.
Like that makes it sound like a lot, but honestly it's not, kind of thing.
The only thing different about it is the outside and then also what is inside. But the spirit is exactly the same.
The spirit's exactly the same.
The soul, they just Shang Tsung the soul out of an Xbox and put it back into a different Xbox.
Yeah, the PlayStation doesn't feel like just another PS4 that's stronger. It feels like its own beast, and I think that's one of its biggest selling points right now.
Yeah. So anyway, this call came from T3.com, which I've never seen before, but like, it's worth looking at. I mean, again, this is just a bunch of patent applications, and those don't always come to fruition. But I would be shocked if we didn't get a mid-generation refresh where it was like, it's smaller and it does better performance and it's $50 less. And then
we had like 4 PS3s at one point.
Yep, there was the fatty, and then there was the fatty without backwards compatibility, and then there was the slim, and there was like the top loader for some reason. Yeah. There've always been new consoles. I don't think I don't know. You and I are constantly confused by people's ire over backwards compatibility, which we will get to in a later story. But so maybe people are thinking that they're just going to be able to spend $500 on a PlayStation 5 and then never have to replace it ever again for the rest of their lives. But like, no, dog, that's not how this is going to happen. Like,
no, like odds are I'm going to look at my old PS5 and be like, I don't need you anymore.
Yeah,
it's going to be like that part from Toy Story.
Yeah,
it's like, I don't want to play with you anymore.
The gift probably already exists. Somebody's made that the day it came out. They're just waiting to put it up. So, yeah, this also had some interesting implications with so there was some other patent language, and I don't entirely understand this. This is from another T3.com article. You guys can all go look at this. But basically, like, part of the patent was also about using some of the system-on-chip technology to be able to stream, like, stream PlayStation games. And a lot of this is tied in with this idea that people have had for a while that Sony has a new PSP/Vita on the horizon.
See, that I don't believe, though. I don't think Sony's crazy enough to do something like that again. But I wouldn't be surprised if they had something phone related, though.
So part of me, they do. They obviously have phones. The other thing is that like everybody keeps thinking the rumor is that it's the PSP 5G. I'm like, why would it be the Vita 5G? Like PSP's old, man. The Vita's the way of the future. I got my Vita. I got my Vita TV. I got all kinds of Vita stuff in this house. But the idea that this could be used for streaming, I think there's also a question of just like, so this is what I had is like, I don't know if they would make a full Vita, but like, what if Sony, after seeing the streaming tech from the PS4 to the Vita, was like, we will sell you for $100, basically like a phone that all it does is stream from your PS5 to a device over your home network, and it's like a device.
So it's a Wii U pad,
basically. Yeah, exactly. Which was like one of the good things the Wii U was able to do.
True, yeah.
Like if they did it right this time and it had like, both triggers, both analog sticks, all the face buttons, and you could just, sit in bed, and instead of trying to compete with the Switch, they're just like, here's a peripheral for the PS5 that would allow you to play your PS5 in bed, or anywhere there's like maybe a Wi-Fi hotspot with fast enough Wi-Fi. But not something that's running, not like a Switch that's running it internally, render it all on your PS5, but then stream it like they did with the PS4 to the Vita. Because I think that technology obviously exists, and I think that could have,
of course.
I've been so impressed by Stadia, right, now that I've got the good internet, that I can see having a fast enough internal, because you remember when we were talking about the specs on the new consoles and how Sony has that like Wi-Fi 6 compliant wireless on it that's like fucking super duper ultra mega fast. Like I feel like that would be able to do, if you had a strong enough internal Wi-Fi network in your house, you could probably render it on the PS5 and then stream it offline to another device in a way where the input lag was low enough that you wouldn't really feel any huge delay. And if they were to make something like, the only problem I have with this scenario, Michael, is I know Sony and they will overcharge for whatever that device is.
Oh, 100%. The reason the Vita failed as hard as it did was, and even the PSP, was that its save data memory cards were stupid expensive, and they were all like proprietary, and there was nothing anyone could do about it.
Yeah.
And no one even if you bought a Vita, like it had no space on it, and it's like, well, you want more space? That's $120. It's like, fuck you, kind of thing. Whereas the 3DS is like, just buy a fucking SD card and shove that shit in, and you're done. It's like, yeah, I'm going to go with them. They clearly know what to do with that part. Yeah,
I don't know. Sometimes they're okay. Like the Vita TV wasn't like super expensive, and PSVR was relatively decently priced when you compare it to other VR headsets, and. I don't know, but if they could put out a device that was like that to kind of make the PS5 into a weirdo Switch, that'd be cool. I mean,
it would be cool.
Check that out. Especially if it worked nice. If it was a dedicated device, right? And it didn't have to have a lot of like stupid, if it didn't have to have like an email client or some bullshit on it, right? If you were just able to basically like tap that activity bar and say like, send game to device, and then just like turn on your Switch pad and be playing Spider-Man PS5 in full, ray traced on something the size of a Switch handheld. That would be cool. I would totally pay money for that. Like
that'd be pretty cool if it works. If it works, that'd be really, really cool.
Yeah. Let's see. In other PlayStation news, we got good news on the PlayStation pre-order front. So all those people, that got like a bag of cat food and like a George Foreman grill.
That was bad.
Amazon is like, hey, they refunded those people, but they sent them emails saying, if this happened to you and you email our customer service, we will essentially, and you have $540, we will essentially put you at the front of the line for whenever the next restock of PS5s comes in. Which, last week I had a story where the guy was like, there are no more PlayStation 5s, they're all sold out. But that's bullshit. Like, there's still some out there in the wild somewhere.
Somebody's working on something. Like, if his version is sold out, it's just all the retailers have it. That's something else, but who knows?
I don't know. That interview was with like a Russian website. I'm wondering if he was just like, "There's no more in Russia." You should have just said that, but
it's just the Zangief is like, there are no more Russia, none whatsoever.
So yeah, people
you must wrestle bear instead. That's way better than PS5.
People are going to get a chance to get PS5s. However, I would like to take this opportunity to raise my middle finger to Amazon and tell you a very short and sad story. Michael, last week I got an email from Amazon that said, congratulations, you have been accepted into the pilot for Amazon Luna, their streaming game service that was announced like 2 months ago.
Okay.
That I went and did the sign up for. And I was like, cool beans, Amazon. I'll try out your thing. I'll give you like $8 a month to try your weird streaming service and let everybody know if it's bad or not. But you know what? You've got a controller. I want the controller. They were like, great, give us $50. And I was like, here's $50. And the guy took my money out of my hand and was like, I'll send you a controller. That's not what happened. So Amazon shipped me. I forgot that I'd done this. And then today I got an email that was like, bad news, pal. Your package from Amazon can't be delivered. And I was like, what? I don't remember what I ordered because now I'm like that because it's 2020. So I went to my Amazon orders and it was the Luna controller. And they were just like, we couldn't deliver it. There was a problem with shipping. We've canceled your order. We're refunding your money. And I was like, this is your fucking device. Send me another one. This isn't like a crock pot from some Chinese fucking reseller. Like,
how did that happen?
Yeah, this is like, it would be like if you ordered, like a Kindle from them and they were just like, yeah, we can't figure it out. I guess no Kindle for you. And it's like, well, you make them. You're Amazon. You've got all this shit laying around. Just send it to me already. What bothers me is that I didn't get an email saying like, hey, do you want us to try again? They were just like, no, there was a problem. You've got to start the whole process over again. And I'm like,
That's so weird.
Yeah.
Strange.
Yeah.
Off to a bad start.
Yeah. Oh, but if you pay $8 a month with them or whatever, however much it is, they've got Control on there. Right off the bat. So I tried that out. It was pretty cool. So speaking of pre-orders and consoles and console pre-orders, we have some good news on the Scalper, horrible shit-ass Scalper front. Apparently last week, that Crep Chief Notify group or whatever, found a way into this, I think it was like a UK website called Very. And they apparently managed to order 1,000 Xbox Series X's out from under them. But the thing is that they managed to slip in before the actual orders had gone live. So once Very found out about this, they just canceled all 1,000 orders and was like, no, we're selling these to regular people. Fuck off. Which is good.
Yeah, good for them. Yeah.
I think moving forward, I don't know. I mean, maybe this won't come up again until the next generation of consoles, if there even is a next generation of consoles. I think of the idea, you could probably make a lot of money, retailers, if you were like, hey, we have anti-scalping algorithms. We're using fucking NVIDIA AI tech to weed out scalpers from regular people or
that
something. That
sounds like it costs money, though, Jeff. And I don't have time to spend money.
Right. But once we're allowed to leave our houses again, then we're going to be in a situation where online retailers will need to have an incentive for us to buy from them instead of just being like, fuck you, sold out in 2 seconds. I'm just going to go wait in line in front of GameStop. I'm going to bring my bed down to GameStop and fucking sleep out in front of GameStop for 2 days. I'm going to pay my friend Michael to go stand in line at Best Buy for fucking 20 hours to get me Nintendo Switch.
That was a fun time. That was with that GameStop. It was so much fun.
Maybe I'm looking at this the wrong way. Maybe I need to start a service where I get a bunch of people and then I charge a fee for them to stand in line, a service for them to stand in line to get it, and then they get a cut. I don't know. In other Xbox news, we finally are live with the update that we talked about a little while back, where you can pre-install Game Pass titles before they're out. So if a game is on the coming soon Game Pass, you can either start the install. You can already either pre-install it and then it'll just unlock like a pre-order does, or you can even queue it up so that once it's immediately available to install, it will start installing, which is great. It's absolutely
great news. Does that work for everything? I assume.
Well, I don't think it works for PlayStation, but what do you?
No,
what
but
do you
know, every current Xbox Game Pass console, I guess.
I think it works for Game Pass. Yes, I think it works for Game Pass and works for Game Pass games. I don't know if it works for. There was a story a while back about. I think it was Xbox that was going to potentially let you pre-download the day one patch, even if you didn't own a game. Right, but
okay.
I don't think that's this. This is just for basically Game Pass. But I read an article that the day one patch for Cyberpunk is like 45 gigs or something like that. So like,
oh my God,
let me download that ahead of time. Well, I don't need to anymore. I installed Phoenix Rising's 30 gigs in like 8 minutes today. But like, I still remember what it was like when my internet was shit. Like, let me get those 45 gigs ahead of time, especially with something like the PlayStation where the storage is so limited.
Yeah, 100%.
But yeah, that's good. Speaking of Game Pass, surprise, everybody! Control is coming to Game Pass. Remember when they were like, "We don't know what you're talking about. What's Control? I've never heard of that.
I've never heard of this Remedy you speak of. No one said Remedy. What? I don't know what you're talking about.
No, I don't know. I don't know what that game is. So, if you have an Xbox or no, this is only for console, I believe, at the moment. If you have an Xbox and you have not played Jeff and Michael's favorite game from 2019, Control, you should go play Control. I think you should also buy the DLCs and you should play that as well. The only thing that I don't like about this is that I need them to put that Hideo Kojima mission on the Xbox version because it's a PS4 exclusive right now.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
So you just don't get it. The crazy sensory deprivation tank mission. Yeah. We also got some more information. Haven is out as of now. We're getting that Valhalla Cyberpunk bartender adventure. Doom Eternal is coming to PC. Yes, Your Grace is coming out. By the time you hear this, Dragon Quest XI S Echoes of an Elusive Age Definitive Edition will be out on both the console and the PC. Call of the Sea, do you remember that? It was like that during the Xbox announcement. It was like this, like a jungle exploration with like this redheaded lady and kind of like a olden days adventure
I
kind
think
of game.
so. Sounds familiar.
Yeah, that's coming next week. And Starbound, we're getting Assetto Corsa, Gang Beasts, Greedfall, which is going to be available on the console and the PC on December 10th. So if you want to play John Sitton's favorite game, it's not John Sitton's favorite game. Also, remember that Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair is coming to the Android console and PC. Remember that Donkey Kong Country Yooka-Laylee game that we played?
I really liked that. It was pretty fun.
Yeah, good stuff in December. Lots of good stuff. None of it's really like next generation, but a lot of it is like the best of the last generation.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Also, I forgot to put in this news story, but I read a story last week that said Greedfall is getting a sequel. So they're going to make a sequel to Greedfall because it sold well enough. In other Xbox news, Sea of Thieves is getting into the Battle Pass game. Starting in 2021, Sea of Thieves is going to start having a Battle Pass. I guess it's going to be all cosmetic. I mean, I don't
really see the point of the game. Like I kind of get the point of the game, but it's 100% a multiplayer game.
Yeah.
Like I could never play this game essentially by myself, like ever.
Well, but see, this article talked about how like the first event is going to be starting in January 2021, and it's going to be about like locating a lost shipwreck and piecing together clues and plundering what remains. And that apparently this Battle Pass stuff is actually going to put the arena PvP mode like kind of on the back burner while they try to do these content drops.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's really strange. I don't know. Maybe one of these days we'll go back, do like a live stream and go back to Sea of Thieves and see if it's any different. They're also doing a Christmas event, apparently. Which,
that's just weird.
Yeah, is going to be a little strange. Not enough Christmas events. Not enough Christmas events in video games.
Yeah, a lot of Halloween ones. People do Halloween ones a lot more than they do Christmas ones.
When I was a kid, I used to play this Mac game called Dark Castle, and I didn't actually realize that I could set the clock on the computer, but like the game started with you standing in the middle of a hallway and there were these doors you could go through, and it was like a suit of armor in the middle. And on Christmas, there would be little Santa hats and a Christmas tree. And as a kid, it just fucking blew my mind away. Like one of my Christmas traditions was to load up this Mac game just to be like, look, all the fucking Santa hats are there. Yeah. not occurring to me that I could just Animal Crossing my way to Christmas whenever the fuck I wanted.
I remember when I was still playing Arkham City, if a holiday came up, I would try to go visit Calendar Man just so he would talk to me about whatever holiday that day was.
I remember that. Let's see. So, in other Xbox news, this is a really, really, really weird thing happened last week. So, apparently, a bunch of people, or like this one guy in particular, the Xbox Series S is able to enable a developer mode. Apparently, just relatively easily. And with that developer mode, people are able to install RetroArch. And RetroArch is, and with RetroArch, they were able to install PCSX2, which is the PlayStation 2 emulator, and then like run PS2 ROMs on an Xbox Series S.
Wow.
Now, there are some caveats to this. Apparently, it can't run any ROMs that are over 2 gigabytes. So that's a problem. It also, okay, I don't know if anybody knows this, but as somebody who has dicked around with PSCX2, whatever it's called, it's not every game runs perfectly. Like there's frame droppages and stuff, but a lot of them run really well. Like they showed in this one, this guy that did this is from a YouTube clip. He shows like Metal Gear running, and Shadow of the Colossus runs pretty good. And, it's funny because he played Burnout 3 Takedown, and he was like, the sky's missing, but that's no big deal. And I'm like, fuck you, that's a big deal.
Yeah, it's showing this Jack and Daxter one, and there's this giant fucking shadow over them.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
There's a lot of so you can see in this shmup, there's like a lot of you can see these like texture borders around stuff all over the screen. So like some stuff runs pretty well. Like apparently Time Splitters runs really, really well, or Time Splitters 2 or whatever it is runs really, really well. The big thing here, and I got to admit, this is rock solid, Michael. This is some rock solid stuff. The Xbox is able to run PS2 games, and the PlayStation 5 can't run PlayStation 2 games. And that is a bitter irony. That is a solid ironic burn that
well, it shows just how much those Xboxes are just PCs more than anything else. But I think that's really cool, though. It's tempting just to try to find an Xbox Series X just to fuck with it, just to do this.
Well, the thing is that this is all running on a Series S, right? So the idea
that's what I mean. Yeah, the Series S,
is like you could maybe mod a Series S for $300 and then essentially have like a PS2 emulator. But the thing is that I guess that is if you don't have a PC that is already strong enough to run this stuff. So, and like I said, it doesn't all run flawlessly. Like if you could see this Outrun 2006, all the audio was stuttery the entire way through that. Like it sounded horrible. You would never want to play it.
Oh, okay.
So everything doesn't work entirely properly. But, Sony, we're talking to Sony. Sony, you really need a way for people to play PS2 games. Like if you just manufactured new PS2s that had all regular PS2 parts but an HDMI port on the back of them, I would buy them. I would buy
100%.
A few of them actually, just in case. Like, they need to stop being coy, or they need to do what they did with the PS Classic and put out a PS2 Classic with such bad security that it gets hacked the same day it comes out. So, yeah. But, this is interesting news. And I don't know. This is
fantastic news.
I think that after the PlayStation 3, you remember how the PS3 you could install Linux on the PS3?
Oh, yeah.
That I think told Sony that they will never, ever, ever again allow people to install custom software. That as well as the whole PSP's life cycle and the way that thing.
Oh my god.
Just an emulator.
The shit out of it. Yeah, did I ever tell you what my friend Miguel did to his? He hacked it to where it'll play the Dreamcast opening when you turned it on, and then you would play Super Mario Brothers on it, and it just felt like a giant affront to the entirety of that console's existence.
That's funny. Let's see. In other Xbox news, there were a lot of Halo Infinite rumors last week that apparently that were nothing. The community manager, Brian Jarrett, took to Twitter to basically say that, like, none of this is for real. Like, one of them was that they were going to be putting a Battle Royale mode into Halo, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, or, like, what kind of thing that is. I mean,
I don't think it's a good idea, to be honest.
I think it could totally work. I mean, considering the large scale maps and like the number of players, you could probably make a battle royale mode as long as it wasn't like the primary thing. But it'll probably feel better in Halo than it does in, I don't know, like Battlefield 5.
Probably, actually, yeah, because at least there's shields and stuff and some of that stuff. I don't know. That could go either way. Is the thing with that. If they ever did something like that, at least.
Yeah, one of the other rumors was that they were going to be releasing the game in 4 chapters, but that start next year and end in 2031. Which is
that's an insane fucking theory in general.
That's stupid. Halo, I guess. Well, wait, that would be a Halo game every 2.5 years, right? Like one new Halo game every 2.5 years, like clockwork. 1, 2, 3, 4. End of console cycle. But like, you guys,
but that wouldn't make any sense because like it's not like Hitman came out in chapters and it wasn't like that. Like that doesn't. Like that's just saying there's a bunch of Halo games. not like what? That doesn't make any fucking sense.
True. None of this is actually true, apparently. But then also they said they basically went on to state that they need to be more upfront about what the fuck is happening with Halo right now if they don't want to have to tell people about the crazy rumors that are going on, because they just announced Halo Infinite, showed Halo Infinite, and then went like, JK, also we fired the guy making Halo Infinite. Like, ooh.
Now Halo is a platformer.
Yes.
And instead of Master Chief, it's just Donkey Kong. We're just making another Donkey Kong.
Where is Halo in your video game hierarchy, Michael? Would you say it's like your top 10 favorite games of all time? Top 20?
Yes,
top
100%.
Top 10?
I'd put it in my top 10. Because I've played them so many times. I don't know if I'd put them in my top 5, but, well, maybe. If they might be number 5, I guess. I don't know. That's a tricky one.
Well, I know it starts...
Metal Gear is the top.
Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Demon Souls, Sekiro, and then Halo, right? That's how it goes.
Yes, of course. That's exactly how it goes. Yeah, Metal Gear's the top of that list because I've that's probably the game series I've played the fucking most out of anything, like, period.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Halo, we got this Microsoft holiday commercial that I forgot to have Michael watch, where like this poor dog is trying to get anybody's attention, and like, somebody's playing Halo, somebody's playing Minecraft, somebody's on the Microsoft conference call. The dad is playing Microsoft Flight Simulator, and so the dog goes to sleep, and he has dreams where him and the neighbor dog are in all these Microsoft games. They're in Minecraft, they're in the Microsoft Flight Simulator, they're having like a fucking Zoom call or whatever the Microsoft Zoom thing is, but the weird thing normal at the end is the dogs are in Halo Infinite. Like, I don't know if they made this commercial before that, but like, it's all these like these holiday games, and then it ends with like the dogs bringing Master Chief this grenade back, and he like looks at the camera like, oh, these dogs, and it's like, hey, fuck you guys, you can't play that game.
It's both adorable and also really sad.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a sucker for dogs. So like, you put a bunch of dogs in a commercial doing dog stuff. I'm cool with that. I watch a dog do dog stuff. Yeah. And then speaking of Microsoft Flight Simulator, Microsoft Flight Simulator is getting a VR upgrade this December. Yeah, as if your computer wasn't already having difficulties having a high frame rate playing Microsoft Flight Simulator.
Just put it in a fridge; it'll be fine.
Yeah. Apparently, this is going to be basically letting people use both Oculus and Valve VR devices to play Microsoft Flight Simulator, and it's apparently like fully integrated. Like, you don't have to take the headset off and then like get everything together. Like, you can go through all the menus and stuff all in VR, which seems pretty fun. I don't have a computer capable of playing Microsoft Flight Simulator. And even if I did, I still don't know if I want to play Microsoft Flight Simulator. Like,
you could pretend you're Harrison Ford and just smoke weed while flying and crashing into golf courses.
Yeah, but what if I just smoked weed and then like played Demon Souls? Like that's more my speed, you know.
But it's not Harrison Ford like. I'm just saying.
I don't aspire to be like Harrison Ford.
Become a carpenter. That's how you do it.
No, I don't want to. Don't make me do stuff I don't want to. So in other futuristic news, we have a bunch of Cyberpunk stuff that came out this week. Apparently, as Michael was telling me before we started,
Yes.
Cyberpunk 2077 is the street date is already broken. It is 7 days before the game comes out. As of our recording this, even less as of you hearing this, and a bunch of people already have copies of Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah, before we started recording, a friend of mine he posted that he got his, and the box literally said "Do not sell until December 10th" on it and everything. And I thought it was hysterical.
I mean, you know, like once the boxes are out in the wild, you can't stop the signal anymore. Like,
nope.
But CDPR put out a notice, apparently at this point, said, we're getting closer and closer to the launch. However difficult this may be for us to achieve, our ambition is for all gamers across the world to have the same spoiler-free experience at the same time. This is why we kindly ask you not to stream/let's play or release any similar content before December 9th, 12 p.m. CET/3 a.m. PST. We will send Max Tack, the guys who take down videos after everyone who does after that date. However, we'd love it if you streamed like there was no tomorrow. So I don't know. It's weird. I haven't seen, I wasn't like following this, but I know that, again, like we mentioned before, people got real, I don't know why people they got so fucking mad when Naughty Dog sicked the takedown police on people for streaming like that dev build of Last of Us 2 or showing footage from Last of Us 2. But I don't know if people are gonna have the same mad on for CDPR of just like censorship. We should be able to show everything on YouTube a million days ahead of time. Like somebody in the Discord before we started literally asked me if they could post screenshots and video from the leaked Cyberpunk, and I was like, I'll put it in I'll make a channel for that. And then I literally, for the first time, put out a system-wide email blast. It was just like, if you guys don't want to know anything about Cyberpunk, you need to mute this channel. I told them they couldn't post here for 2 hours. Mute this channel if you don't want to see anything. Because, Michael, somebody asked if they could make an endgame, if I could make an endgame Discord channel.
Oh, you told me about this.
I made an endgame Discord channel, and before I even muted it, like I just got a pop-up window that was just like, can you believe when Captain America picked up Thor's hammer? And I was just like, fuck.
Yeah. I remember coming over and you're like, so that happened. I was like, you poor bastard.
Fuck. That's why I watched a screener of a telesync of that. I was just like, I've been waiting 10 years for this, and with the stroke of a keyboard. And I don't want to make the person who did that feel bad, because I should have known how to fucking control my technology better. But like, I was just like, oh no, I already saw it. And like my brain was like, no, you didn't see it. You don't even know what that said. And I'm like, I saw enough. I know what it said. Speaking of seeing enough, we also got a trailer for Cyberpunk 2077 has a photo mode. So the answer,
it does.
The answer now to the question of like, why do I even get to customize a character if I don't ever get to go into third person? Photo mode. It's for photo mode. It's probably for photo mode. Apparently you can set up a whole bunch of different things, lighting, exposure, poses. You can move stuff around. Apparently they'll let you praise the sun in Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, is that just straight up to praise the sun?
Yep. That's what it is. That's the pose.
Straight up is, yeah.
Yep.
V for victory is what it's called.
Yeah, sure it is.
But that's clearly praising the sun. Clearly.
I'm sure that John Sitton will be very happy. Do you ever take the photos in Spider-Man, right? Are you going to take photos in Cyberpunk?
Oh, consistently. Maybe. I did it for Avengers. I'm sure I'll do it for Cyberpunk.
I don't take photos of anything ever. Not my family or babies or like a sunset or.
Well, that's the thing. I don't normally take pictures of anything other than my games now with photo mode.
Actually, you know what? I did take a bunch of pictures for that Ghost of Tsushima Legends mode because the screenshots they put out were so fucking shitty that I had to go find some to make my thumbnail. I had to go make my own screenshots. Stupid a-holes.
I'll make my own thumbnails with blackjack and hookers.
Damn right. In other Cyberpunk news, we also got this is kind of just an this was at a like a earnings call or something like that. They talked about how the multiplayer mode isn't going to be like a mode; it's going to be a separate product. Like kind of like Red Dead Online is, or like GTA Online. Like it's not going to be something that you click over to. It's going to be like a whole separate thing, and they don't want to talk about it at all right now because they just want to focus on getting the actual single player game out. So that's going to happen. We also got confirmation. I don't know why I thought like this isn't like earth shattering or anything, but you will be able to bring saves from Cyberpunk 2077 on the PS4 and the Xbox One to the Series X and the PS5. But only crossways. You can only bring PS4 games to the Series X and Xbox One games to the PS5. It only goes crossways. So, no, actually, it only goes one way. And there's no way to bring things between the different hardware sets. But considering the fact that there's going to be a next gen upgrade, I mean, like, it would be fucking ludicrous if you could not do this,
especially for a game like this.
Yes, yeah. If you got like a 300-hour video game and you put 120 hours into it, they're just like, I guess you got to start over, buddy. That's not cool. That's not cool. Speaking of the future, Watch Dogs Legion's online multiplayer mode has been delayed until 2021. Michael, I know how disappointing this is to you because you just were super into that Spider-Bot multiplayer horse shit that they've crammed into this game.
Here's the thing. I literally keep forgetting this game came out.
I finally got around to playing it last week, and I don't think I'm going to play it.
Which is such a shame, you know? Like it seemed like such an exciting idea, and then everyone was like, "It's nothing. It's just it's not very good at all."
It's so goddamn generic. Like it's so goddamn generic. Like I think, you know what? This is the state of the world. I think I'm going to try to play Immortals Phoenix Rising instead of Watch Dogs Legion, which should tell you, like, of the 3 fucking Ubisoft games, the 3 Titanic Ubisoft games that have come out in the last couple of months, I think I'm going to go with the fucking Breath of the Wild ripoff as opposed to the Viking game or the fucking Cybernetic Future game, which is really saying something for me. But
it's just the most original thing of the 3.
Yeah.
And I think that's what really makes me a little more excited about that than this.
Yes, absolutely. Speaking of that Viking game, we also got a patch that adds apparently when Assassin's Creed Valhalla launched, it didn't actually have like it does a number of fixes, but it also didn't have that thing where you can switch between like 60 frames per second frame rate or quality mode, and especially on the Xbox Series S, that was a problem because the quality mode ran really poorly, and now you can kind of switch it over to a higher frame rate mode.
Okay.
It also has a shitload of fixes, like lots, like pages and pages and pages and pages of things that have been fixed and changed. So great. I'm not
fantastic for you Valhalla players.
Yeah, somebody was talking.
All 12 of you.
It's funny, Michael, because I spend all my time running this video game website, and like somebody in the comments, I was complaining about the length of Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and somebody in the comments was like, man, I could beat a 60-hour game in like 2 weeks. And I was like, why can't I beat a 60-hour game in 2 weeks? And I guess I can. I kind of did with Yakuza, but like I realized that all of the scheduling and putting together the podcast, like getting these games and ordering stuff and like trying stuff out, rendering videos and stuff. Like it's eating up so much of my time that I don't think I can finish a game that quickly anymore. Like
no, it's very difficult. Like if I do, I have to just not do anything else outside of what I'm doing.
Yeah,
like I have to like basically not run my errands kind of thing and just sit and only do that. Like
right.
I could do that, but it's not a good idea, to be honest.
It's like you've got to dedicate your weekends to basically just like, I'm not going to talk to anybody. I'm not going to do any fucking thing. I'm going to order delivery food, and I'm just going to do the bare minimum and just play these games solidly. Like,
yeah, and the hardest thing about doing that nowadays for me is, because I have my roommate, and it's the main TV is the TV that everything is connected to.
Right.
And so sometimes I'm just like, I'm just going to stop and watch something because I'm hungry or something. And then that turns into a whole thing because maybe he's going to end up trying to watch something while I'm eating.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And then it was like, well, but I want to finish whatever it is we're watching now. And then like the game just sort of goes to the wayside because of it. Like I haven't even finished the remaster of Spider-Man. And I've been doing that on and off since I finished Miles Morales, and that was weeks ago.
Yeah,
kind of thing. Whereas the first time I bought remastered, or not even remastered, the first time I bought PS4 Spider-Man, I 100%ed it in 2 days, kind of thing. Because all I did was I buckled down, I started playing the second I woke up, and then I didn't stop playing until it was like 3 a.m. each day, kind of thing. And I haven't done that with anything in a while.
Well, plus, I mean, like I was just thinking how. Like I can't spend every waking moment playing a game anymore because also I'm real salty about the last episode of The Mandalorian and how like 12 seconds after it came out, like every thumbnail and like news stories and YouTube videos and shit that was being recommended to me across the internet had that character's face plastered on it. And I was like,
how does it connect to so-and-so? And you're like, God damn it, guys.
You guys can go fuck yourselves. You can go
I got
fuck
lucky
yourselves.
I got lucky that since my job involves me not being able to look up anything for the most part.
Yeah.
Like keeps me from dealing with that part of it. So I can just be like, I can just end the day and then just go straight to it. But other than that, yeah, that thing is fucking everywhere. Like every possible spoiler. If all I had to do was just open up Facebook and it would have been there.
And you know what? It would have been so cool to have watched it without knowing that and been like, oh, holy shit, look who it is. Like, that would have been a super fun thing, especially because I actually went out of my way to watch season 4 of the Clone Wars.
Oh, like, yeah.
I couldn't even watch the Clone Wars, and I watched that one, and I was like, oh, okay. And then I could have been like, what? Crazy. And instead it was like, yep, that's who it is. I know who it is already.
Yeah. And then there's all these twists and such. And I don't know. Like I like the episodes though, but it really expects you to know everything that's going on, kind of thing.
It really does. Speaking of knowing a whole lot, the guy who knows a whole lot about making BioWare games is actually two guys who know a whole lot about making BioWare games are leaving BioWare. Casey Hudson is once again leaving BioWare, as well as the guy that's making Dragon Age, Mark Dara. So Casey Hudson, who's been working on Mass Effect, and Mark Dara, who's been working on Dragon Age, are leaving BioWare. Are we watching BioWare die, but it's taking like a decade for it to happen? Is that what's going on here?
Probably.
Like,
this is the longest EA has let a studio die.
Yeah.
Usually it's immediate, like, the destruction of Krypton kind of thing, where this is just like slowly watching someone die in front of your eyes.
Because someone pointed out in the Discord that, like, didn't they bring Casey Hudson back to fix Anthem? Because he left after Mass Effect, and he like worked for Microsoft for a little while, and then like he came back to get the ship righted on Anthem, which. Where's Anthem, guys? I'm still willing to play it when the poor Austin studio revamps that thing from the ground up. I'm really willing to go back into it. I kind of liked Anthem, y'all. I'm the guy. I'm that one guy who's like, I thought it was okay. But yeah, I don't.
Poor BioWare. They used to be like the top of things. People used to hear BioWare and be like, quality.
Yep.
Now people hear BioWare and they're like, oh, those poor fucks.
Yeah. They should just let them remake Knights of the Old Republic and then dissolve them.
They really should.
Remake KOTOR 1 from the ground up, and then you guys get the fuck out of here. Everybody's fired. Go work on fucking EA Sports. Challenge everything. Go challenge everything. Go challenge everything. Speaking of challenging everything in sports, the Fall Guys is an e-sport, and they're getting the skin of the Doomslayer.
I saw that recently. I was on Twitter, and that popped up. And I was like, I'm sorry, what's happening now? But they're getting a lot of different skins. Because didn't they get like a Godzilla skin not that long ago?
They did. They got a little Godzilla where he's holding like a little car or a little bus or something like that. Yep. You remember how the first skins, they had like that whole like Mr. Beast and fucking Markiplier teamed up to give like $200,000 to a children's charity, and now they're just like, all right, we did the one good one, now like just pay us money and we'll put the thing in the game. It's fine.
It's kind of insane, but like because people were making so many different outfits for that thing just for them, and they probably are just like, why don't we just do a bunch of these?
Yep, very true. And damn it, we're not going to get all the way to the end, but speaking of
so close,
our last online, we're still going to have time for questions, though. We're still having time for questions. I'm not speaking English anymore. Speaking of online games you can play online, Red Dead Online 1 is finally out as its own standalone product that you can purchase for $5 at a discount right now. And then 2, they also added the Bounty Hunter to the experience. I didn't realize this wasn't in the game already.
I just assumed it was. I didn't realize it wasn't either.
Yeah. But apparently this is like a new track. There's like a new battle pass. There's a big Polygon article that I kind of tried to read. And Michael, I tried to read this article 3 times and my brain kept fucking off. Like, the takeaway here is that when they added this character, they also like reduced all of the rewards that you get, and they like raised kind of the cost of a lot of different things, and like what you get with the bounty hunter is it's like you get Arthur's winter coat, but then you don't get a whole lot else. So like they're asking for gold bars, which are the premium currency, and it used to be that you could like earn back the battle pass gold bars if you bought it, but now you have to buy it in the first week in order to earn that back. The whole thing is basically, this is what it boils down to. They are tightening the purse strings and trying to squeeze more money out of the fucking saints that are still devoting their time and money to fucking Red Dead Online, which I can't believe it. You should be giving people more. You should be making it easier to play Red Dead Online. Like,
that's so fucking stupid. This goddamn Red Dead Online just keeps getting worse as time goes on.
Yeah. I mean, look at the amount of content. I know that Grand Theft Auto Online's been around for longer, but like, you know, I think that we all thought that when Red Dead Redemption 2 came out, or when Red Dead Online launched, that like that content engine for Grand Theft Auto Online was going to pivot and start pumping out like content into Red Dead Online. And there's some story stuff that's in there, but not as much. Like, I don't think, is there anything, do they even have like the heist system? Remember from Grand Theft Auto Online where you get together your buddies and then they have these crazy fucking heists that you can do? And like, that would be perfect for Red Dead, right? You get a posse together and go fucking rob the Armadillo Bank, and you know, it's going to take some time. You're going to have to get
a whole thing. Yeah. It's just like every time, like I thought the idea of Red Dead Online was a nice idea because it's like, oh, it's like a little Western, like, you know, thing that you could do, but it's just sounds awful every time I think about it now, or every time I read anything on it now.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you can already do all that stuff, and I'm just talking out of my butt. But in any case, speaking of butts, we got to take a break so that I could put my butt somewhere else for 5 minutes. So stick around and we'll be right back. We got a few more stories and then we're going all up into that question zone. I don't know what that is, but we're going there. We're back. And this time, Michael, we actually have a reasonable amount of news. We are going to get to questions. We are going to get to the questions.
Are we, though?
We are.
Really?
We are. Because honestly, I like to save, after the trailers, I like to save the back half of the news section for, like, here's all the games that have been announced that are going to be coming out. And, like, there isn't a lot of that this week. So... we got some trailers. Apparently, there's going to be a new DLC for Dead Cells called Fatal Falls that's coming in early 2021, which is really cool. I am a huge fan of Dead Cells.
Everyone's praising the sun today, apparently.
Yeah. The dude from Dead Cells is praising the sun. I don't even know what these like emotes or something. I don't remember this character having this many just like optional poses as in this trailer.
Yeah, it's interesting. Kind of neat though.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll definitely be checking this out. Apparently probably a vertical level and then this kind of like weird swampy level. We also got a launch trailer for Haven since that came out this week. I don't know. I'm having a hard time finding anybody who is at all interested in Haven. Like, I feel like most people don't know about it. The people that do are like, I don't know, that seems all right. Like, it looks fine.
Well, I remember them showing it off. Was it the Xbox game stuff or whatever before the next gens came out?
Yes.
And everyone was expecting like all these cool, exciting things, and it was like Haven, and there was like nothing on nothing really to show at that point. Yeah. And it was like, well, this is boring as shit. Like, what else do you got, kind of thing? And that was the only thing I remember about it.
I'm pretty sure that this game was announced, and then there was a playable demo at the Game Awards last year, or somewhere around there. I do know that this trailer has a lot more like people in their underpants fucking making out and shit. It's a little sexier than it was last time because it's the one with the
there's a lot more press X to fuck kind of looking moments.
Yeah, there's a lot of like people, a lot of this, like, for anybody who doesn't know, this game's about this like couple that's like on an alien planet. They've got these kind of futuristic powers and they're fighting robots. So it's kind of like an open world going around doing stuff, but then it's got a kind of JRPG battle system and then a kind of dating sim or something hooked onto it. It's from the people that made Fury. I don't know. Like it was on Game Pass, so we're going to play it at some point next week. I don't know who I'm playing it with or where it's going to be on the schedule, but if I get a chance to check it out, I've avoided it on all the demos that came out over the last year or so. So,
okay.
We got a trailer for a new Dead by Daylight antagonist, Binding of Kin, which is these new killers who are the twins, Charlotte and Victor Deshay. It's like this kind of beefy lady and then like this little basket case little Nosferatu monster man that runs around and does stuff. I'm so impressed that Dead by Daylight exists and apparently has enough money to just keep putting out new stuff.
Yeah, it's very impressive. It's one of the few what are they called?
Asynchronous multiplayer.
Asynchronous multiplayer games that really is thriving, probably more than most.
Yeah, which is pretty amazing. I wonder if I bet Tony is probably playing this. But yeah, it's a real weird one. It's a real weirdo one. We also got, finally, some Christmas stuff. No Straight Roads is apparently getting a Christmas edition, which, as near as I can tell, is just like the game, but then everybody's dressed up like in festive holiday outfits. Like the main characters and all the antagonists and the worlds and everything are now just like they've got Christmas trees and ornaments and like holiday cheer all over the place. Did you ever?
I think that's really cool.
Was No Straight Roads on Game Pass? Was it a Game Pass game?
I don't know. I never got around to playing the game. Like I thought about buying it after we played it, but I never got around to it. I probably will eventually though, because it was such a unique little game.
Yeah, I definitely wanted to play it. I just never got around to it for some reason. But I don't know. I was wondering to myself, like, should I play it like for kind of to evaluate like of the best games of 2020, but with Christmas, like all Christmased up.
I hear it's fairly short, all things considered. So yeah, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. So that's coming out. And we also got a trailer for Mask of Rose, which this is a really weird one. This is going to like a dating simulator in Fallen London, which is okay. So Fail Better Games made this Fallen London thing, and it was from this guy. Apparently, he was problematic, and then they took over and they made like Sunless Sea or Sunless Sky or whatever that weird Cthulhu boat driving game was. Like, Michael, the description for this game is that like apparently it says Mask of Rose takes place in 1862, mere months after London was stolen by bats.
That's the first sentence, people.
So yeah, this is apparently a romance game set in this weird fucking Cthulhu underground, everybody has to live underground thing. And it's got this kind of nice art. I mean, I could see with the way that Sunless Sea was like kind of had like this kind of rudimentary sailing thing, but then it was very much about like making decisions and resource management and stuff. I could see how it could totally turn into a romance game.
I just need to know if there's a fuck Cthulhu option. Like that's what we need.
I don't actually know if Cthulhu is in this game, but the weird thing is that this trailer came out like the day before we recorded, and it's a trailer. It's a teaser for their Kickstarter that's starting on February 8th, 2021.
That's so weird.
Oh yeah, I don't know.
Good luck, guys. That's all I gotta say.
Yep. From there, we got the news that Saga Frontier is getting remade. This is I think this is a Square PlayStation game, OG PlayStation game. Or might have been,
sounds familiar.
Might have been Enix. So yeah, they're remaking it. It's one of those weird kind of like when they were still using like the little, the kind of like 2D sprites from the Final Fantasy era, but then they had a bunch of like kind of weird 3D shoved in there as well.
Yeah, that would definitely be around the PS1 era if that's the case, because a lot of games or PS1 RPGs were like that back then.
Yeah, so they're adding some new stuff. They're adding a new protagonist and remastering a few things. So that's pretty cool.
It's kind of cool.
We also have a rumor that we might be starting to get Game Boy Advance Virtual Console games on the Switch. This is really tenuous. Apparently, the evidence here is the NES Online and SNES Online Virtual Console parts of the Switch got updates that didn't actually add anything to them. So people are wondering if this is going to be adding support for other games. And then there was also a user on one of the Reset Era forums that shared an image of a GBA and indicated there might be something being announced soon.
It's all just the Super Mario Advance games, but only those. just for more fucking Mario Brothers 3 again and Mario Brothers 2 re-releases.
Do you remember before the Nintendo Switch came out when there was the rumor that we were going to be getting GameCube games on the Switch?
Man, I was so excited at the idea of that. I'm still excited at the idea of that, and they're never going to fucking do it.
They're not. I hate...
We got one GameCube game out of them. Just one.
I hate
the Mario Sunshine. Yeah,
the way that Nintendo does this shit. I mean, like this week... or like a few days ago, they put out the first Fire Emblem, right? They put out that Fire Emblem remaster.
Yeah.
But it's not on the like Switch online service. You have to pay $6 for it. Like it's an NES game. And I know they had to do
just so weird
work on it, but come on, Nintendo. Like, I don't know. They're so fucking chintzy with their huge library of awesome games. I don't know.
It's crazy bastards.
In other Nintendo news, a company out there, I forget which company this is, a Pokemon company is teaming up with the Wand Company, who is a company that makes like high-end Pip-Boys and phasers and wands and sonic screwdrivers to make this like premier Pokeball recreation that lights up, and it's made out of like stainless steel, and not stainless steel, it's made of some kind of metal that's like a Pokeball. What I find really interesting about this is that like in their description, it's die-cast. In their description of it, they say like, do not throw this. This is not for throwing. Like, one, it's made out of metal and it could hurt somebody. And two, it's not made to not come apart if you fucking huck it at somebody. It's like, it's a statue. It's for like display purposes only. Do not throw this Pokeball at
I like how even
person.
the video is the guy slowly touching it. He's like, I don't want to fucking break this goddamn thing.
Yeah.
What's the point at that point, though? It's like, what's the point of a Pokeball? You can't fucking throw it at anybody.
I don't know. I mean, it's also $100. I'm not a big Pokemon fan, so maybe this doesn't. I mean, like, I just don't get it. Like
it's neat, I guess. Like, even as a Pokemon, somewhat of a Pokemon fan, I'm not as much as I was back in, years and years ago. Like, I think it's neat, but even then I would be like, but what does it do?
Nothing.
Kind of thing. And they're like, it lights up, but what does it do? Kind of like thing.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
It's like it doesn't even open based on that idea.
You know what it does, Michael? It's the thing you buy when you're going to cosplay as like fucking Brock for Comic-Con and you want like a really good looking prop Pokeball that you didn't spray paint like a fucking tennis ball.
Yeah, but they sold toys of these Pokeballs for like $10 kind of thing. So it's like, why? It comes down to the why.
I don't know the answer to that question. I'm just telling the people.
Like it lights up, I guess. I don't know. It's just like, I don't know. Like there's whenever stuff like that comes out, it's like I don't understand.
Yeah.
Sometimes like I get like really expensive Captain America shields and stuff. I'm like, oh, this is really cool. You can wear them, kind of thing. Like, sure, they're not actual shields, but they look really cool. But like, this is just like, what's the point of a Pokeball? You can't throw like a Pokeball. It's kind of dumb.
I don't know. I'm part of me wants to buy one of these dumb things for $100 and just see how many times I can throw it at my co-host until it breaks. Like,
does it make noises at least? Like, what else does it do?
I think it does. It lights up. It's a museum piece. It's like a statue, right? Like that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's like a statue of a Pokeball.
I'm sure somebody's gonna love that thing, but it's not for me.
Yeah. If you thought spending $100 on a Pokeball was a financial waste of time, this is a story of this guy in New York who apparently was like storing his entire collection of like vintage consoles and video games and things at his mom's house, and found out in like Jersey or something, and found out that his mom like sold or gave away like a $500,000, like $500K of video games and consoles and vintage systems like a year ago, because they were just like in his mom's storage shed, and she was just like, I'm tired of this shit, and just like fucking got rid of them. Apparently
that's amazing.
She threw away, let's see, Ataris, ColecoVisions, and Televisions, Famicom, Super Famicom, TurboGrafx, PC Engine, Neo Geo, Mega Drive, Master System, and all these games. A bunch of them were still partially shrink wrapped. But then, like, I think this article on VG247 goes on to say, as if this wasn't bad enough, there was some non-gaming collateral in the clear out too. She also threw out my 2 Marshall Stacks 14 pedals drum kit board and all my skateboards. It's like, look, man, there is a point where your parents storing your shit, like, that's too many valuable items to just be like sitting somewhere that you don't have access to. I mean, I get like that's a lot of things, but
well, there's one thing to leave it there, but you should tell your parents what it is that's there.
Yes.
Like my mom called me not that long ago, and she's like, "Yeah, we have all these toys that you left here." It's like, we're thinking of getting rid of them or something. It's like, well, I left them there so your grandkids could play with them. That's literally the only reason I left them there. Kind of thing. It's like, it's cool if you get like just let me get some of the ones that I really want, I guess, to keep at that point, because parents don't give a fuck about that thing. Like I there's a long time ago, my brother was at a GameStop, and this woman came in with all these PS1 games that were like really hard to get at this point, and she's just like, yeah, I don't need any of this shit. Like, my son just left it there. Like, how much could I get it for? And they're like, well, at the time they weren't taking retro games. And they're like, well, we don't take any of this stuff. And my brother just gave her like $20, and she gave him like half of the stuff in there, kind of thing. And it was all like, yeah, it was a lot of the harder ones to find, like a lot of fighting games that were harder to find, like a lot of like RPGs that were harder to find, because she didn't care. She's like, it's just a bunch of nonsense.
Yeah.
But like, if that guy had came back and just sold that shit on eBay, like he would have made a fucking killing.
Yep.
On just what was in there, and she's like, whatever, I don't fucking care.
Yeah, my parents for years were like, you need to pick out what you want to keep from all your toys that we have. And I was just like, throw them away. And my parents were like, what? And I was like, yes, throw them all in the trash can. She's like, what about your He-Mans? I'm like, throw my He-Mans in the... I don't want to... I have enough garbage in my life, and it's not like... Look, Michael, if I ever have children and I try to give them my old He-Mans, they're going to be like, this sucks. Do you realize what I can do on my phone right now? Like, I've got shoes with roller skates built into them, and I play Fortnite, old man. What do I want with your plastic homoerotic muscle man toy that you played with? Oh, look, they're all super muscly. Cool, Dad. What were you trying to... Yeah. Like, I didn't want any of them. Like, do you want any Transformers? You know what? I don't know if I've told this story before, but like I did somehow end up with my Blitzwing. You remember that Transformer that went from like a So it was like a tank and then a plane and then a robot, the like triple changer. And I don't know how this deal worked out, but I gave it to Matt Frank, who gave it to a friend of his that lives in Japan, who will occasionally send Matt several pictures that Matt sends to me of my Blitzwing, like standing in front of like a shrine or like hanging out with Astro Train on like a street vendor cart or something. And he's always just like, yep, your Blitzwing is just having a great time in Japan. And I'm like, good. That's the best I could have hoped because I didn't want it. I don't want that shit. I'm not going to play with it. Yes, exactly. They had
that was the reason I left the toys from like I said, my nephews and nieces. They all wanted to play with them, and I was like, well, I'm like at this point, I was like, I'm 25 at this point. Like I don't fuck with them as much as I used to. Like when I was a lot younger, I used to get them and mess with them all the time. Like some of them were my original. One of them was my original fully superposable Spider-Man 1 figure from like 2001, and I was like, yeah, I used to love this thing, but now I'm just like, yeah, let them play with it. I don't really care as much. Like some of the toys I took with me that were a lot more expensive, that were more collector-y kind of thing, and I have them here, but for the most part, I left the rest of them down there with them.
I kept a little Superman that was like the Superman from the first Superman movie that I used to carry around all the time when I was a little kid, and then like the first generation Luke Skywalker in a pilot suit from the first run. You remember, do you know that like the first run of Kenner Hasbro or the Kenner Star Wars figures, they didn't have them ready for Christmas that year because they didn't know. So they literally sold like IOUs. And this is like the first gen of those toys. They sucked. They were fucking terrible. They looked like awful. But I have like those two, and the rest, like my parents several Christmases ago brought out like this huge bin, and what it was full of was all the like guns and backpacks and straps and like thing that makes sparks that were the accessories. And I was like, what am I going to do with this? I don't have half the things these accessories go to. This is Storm Shadow's backpack. I took him apart and put a firecracker in him like 25 years ago. What am I going to do with this?
There's so many people that would pay good money for like half of that shit, though. Like, it's just, people are insane with that stuff. It's crazy.
I don't want it. So
just take them to the Goodwill, like minimum.
They threw them away. I told them throw these away. Throw these in the garbage
got that
can.
Tax exemption out of it.
Nah. The only thing I saved is I was going to give Brian Salisbury all my Ninja Turtles, but I haven't seen him in like a year, so I need to give him my Ninja Turtles at some point.
Oh, okay.
Speaking of weird shit that's collectible, rubber ducks apparently were used in Demon Souls. The Demon Souls remake as like placeholders for things to make sure the physics engines worked out right. And so we got a little gift today of like a bunch of rubber ducks, and then like the character turns it around and there's like a gigantic boss rubber duck behind while the dramatic Demon Souls music plays.
That's amazing.
Apparently they used rubber ducks for just like a shitload of testing in the Demon Souls remake. And it's funny because as part of when they were talking on Twitter, they said that rather than trying to track down and remove all the rubber ducks, they literally removed the rubber duck like asset from the game to make sure they didn't accidentally lose a rubber duck somewhere that somebody found. They were like, what does this mean?
Yeah, everyone absolutely would have gone apeshit. Like, does it mean there's a rubber duck level now? What's happening?
Yes, exactly. Actually, I put these last stories because they're all just like oh, these are cool Jeff stories. I don't know if you saw this last week, Michael. Remember you were talking about that drone shot of Super Mario, Super Mario
there's
World.
A trailer out now.
Yeah, there was like a big trailer. There's like some walkthrough stuff. They showed like apparently they've got like an AR Mario Kart ride that you could ride. Is this weird for me to say, Michael, that like as soon as it's available for me to get a fucking coronavirus vaccine, I want to get a coronavirus vaccine and then get on a plane and go to fucking Japan and go to Super Mario World and go do all the stuff. I want to go to Japan. I think I might be able to get enough money together to go with Matt next year. And I really desperately want to go to Japan.
You should try it. You should try and do that. Like, just I'll give you money and you can buy me something while you're out there. Because I'm never going to make enough money to save up that kind of thing. Well, I could, but it would just take a lot longer.
Oh my god, the AR glasses have a little Mario helmet attached to them.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, every time I saw that thing, and I was like, man, or not that specifically, but the trailer that they came out with, and I'm like, my god, this thing just looks fucking gorgeous, and the upkeep is going to be a pain in the ass, but man, this thing is going to be fucking rad as hell.
It looks so cool. Like it's so bright and colorful, and they've got like I love the way that all the coins spin, like all these coins spin around.
And the piranha heads are moving, kind of thing. The big fucking Bowser statue that they got.
Like, you know, I have a problem watching this trailer, Michael, because I see that big Bowser statue and like the little like steps leading up to it. My brain refuses to think that's real. It's like, oh, that's really nicely rendered for a Switch game. Like,
well, yeah, that's the thing. The more you look at it, the more you're like, this isn't a real place, right? This is like something somebody rendered. Like, especially the one that shows the land, like the actual like view of the whole thing and the coin spinning, you're just like, oh, that's a really cool render of an idea of a place. Like, you're like, that's not real. None of this is real. Like, they'll build it like a year from now, kind of thing.
Like, do you see the way that
it's there?
Like, they've got this moving platform up here, like where this swamp that goes up and down. It's amazing. It's so
I didn't
cool.
even see that one. There's so much shit moving on the screen.
There's these little Yoshi merry-go-rounds that you can get in the back of a giant, weirdly distended, fucked up Yoshi.
I wonder if they have a ban on dressing up like any of those characters, like the way the Marvel area or the Star Wars area does.
Oh, dude,
at Disney.
I don't know. I'd
love to just show up just like Luigi and just be like, Yahoo!
Michael, I bet you that they sell the hats when you walk right in. The first thing is going to be a kiosk where you could buy a fucking Mario hat if you want to.
Oh, probably. Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know. This looks great. This looks so cool. It's so super cool. Super cool one.
It looks so fucking cool, guys. Amazing.
I put these news stories in the wrong order, but we'll get back to cool shit in Japan in a minute. But for now, we got to go to bad shit in England. So apparently in Leeds, England, there was this building where they painted this giant Metal Gear Rising advertisement mural where it's like the Raiden and it's got the Metal Gear Rising thing on it. This thing has been there for 7 years, apparently.
Really?
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy.
Nobody ever painted over it, but they did now. They put like some clothing advertisement, cool people, whatever.
7 years is a long time for now, because I remember they put those all over the place.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, and that's a long time for one of those things. I remember seeing they painted a bunch of Boondocks ones all over Austin, and I found a couple of them when I was like, because I wasn't living here at that point, I was just visiting at the time, and me and my friends just hunted them down, and we found like a few of them, and they were really cool. But yeah, they all got painted over pretty quickly. But that's really impressive, a 7-year time frame.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome. And last but not least, let's go back to Japan for more awesome shit, because, Michael, did you see that they finally unveiled the life-sized Gundam? And it's like...
Oh, my God, did they finally, like...
Yep.
What else does it do?
It's like it takes a few steps. It kind of comes out of this little thing. It's got this gigantic arm that's, like, holding onto it. It walks super, super, super slow, but it's kind of got a lot of, like, audio around it, like, talking about like the testing, like the first steps of it, and then it makes the noises, like Gundam power-up noises and like the big boot heels.
Man, that's what I want to go to Japan to see. Like,
yeah,
because years ago that was the actual statue itself, and or not statue, but you know what I mean, like the giant full-size Gundam that was outside. They replaced it with the RX-0, which is the Unicorn Gundam, and they took it down to do this to it, like everything that's here. And I kept thinking, he's like, man, what if I ever go there, I want to see it. But I was bummed out that they took it down. But now they've done something magical to it, and now I definitely want to go see it.
They really have. I just, between this and the Super Mario Land this week, I was just like, why does Japan get all the cool shit? Like. There's not a
that. There's a lot of stores that have just like big fucking Goku statues and stuff like that. And I just want to see these fucking things.
They put there's that hotel with like Godzilla's head on the top of it or whatever.
Yeah,
that you can see.
That like roars at like noon every time or something like that. There's like cool, crazy shit.
Yeah. Why don't you get all the cool shit, Japan? I want cool shit. We just got like, oh look, there's a new taco truck. I want cool shit. Cool shit.
Yeah, we rarely get anything that's like really cool, and if it is, it doesn't last very long.
I did find out though, Michael, that there's this really cool place that delivers to me. That's like a Hawaiian restaurant. It's just like delicious meat on rice, and then like a side order of macaroni and spam sushi, and it's great.
Like, have you heard of the Capcom bars or all the like anime bars and shit?
Oh wait, hold on.
Exist in Japan?
Hold on. There's also a place where you can like stand in front of this gigantic like virtual cockpit and then see out of the cameras on the front of the Gundam when it takes steps and stuff. Like, it's not.
Oh my god, that's amazing!
It's fucking crazy. Anyway, sorry, Capcom bars.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, like, years ago, my friend he sent me a message about a Capcom bar where you can order a drink that came with 2 giant pieces of ices that were shaped like Dante's guns. that were one of them was colored to be darker than the other one, and I was like, man, I want to go there. I want to see something cool like that.
Yeah,
there's like a JoJo's bar too that's just like covered in JoJo like stuff. It's just fucking crazy what people do out there.
You know what the crazy thing is though, is if I go with Matt Frank, like, I don't know. Matt has like contacts and kind of knows Hideo Kojima. Not that I don't know. I feel a lot like that episode of Community.
What does kind of mean?
Well, apparently like Kojima's a big kaiju fan, right? And so like Kojima knows who Matt Frank is because Matt draws the fucking Godzilla stuff. And like he told me that he got to talk to him on the phone or something like that. I don't know. Or there's somebody told him, like Kojima told me that he really liked your Godzilla cover, and Matt was like, oh cool. And then Matt keeps talking about like teasing me about like, oh, you could get to meet Kojima, but there's a part of me that's like, I don't know if I want to meet Hideo Kojima. Like, what do I say? Like, hey, I really enjoyed all of your video games. Thank you very much for making the video games. Like, we don't speak the same language. It's not like I could be like...
Oh, yeah. It's a difficult one.
Do you want to have a beer and try to get over our weird cultural differences and figure out, like, if we have anything in common? Like,
have you ever heard of Dick Bees, Hideo Kojima? just hear me out. I think you should make another Metal Gear with Dick Bees as an attack. I'm just saying.
And then he'll tell me about how the Pain already has that, and we just weren't able to put it in the game. It is in the Japanese version, but not in the American version.
It's all in the concept art.
Yeah.
He also shits them out. It's a whole thing.
Anyway, I said we were going to have time for questions. We do have time for questions. Michael, I have to say though, before we start the questions, I have to say something. Today was the first time in the history of all of Rage Select where like we were getting ready to do the podcast. I didn't have that many email questions. I put out on Twitter and Facebook like, hey, we need questions. I got no questions. I got no new questions.
Oh my God,
today.
really?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So we're going to answer a couple of older questions, and then we're going to go over to Discord because those motherfuckers...
This comes from Mailer Demon.
Yes, those motherfuckers will do whatever I tell them over on the Discord. So... So yeah, we got this one from Sam from the UK who says... Dear Jeff Michael, recently I got around to completing Control after buying it months back, but I ended up neglecting it after only having played the first few minutes of it. Truth is, I ended up really not getting into it the first time round, and after returning to it, I sadly didn't get the sense that my opinion was going to change all that much. Apologies, but I just found the writing to be more pretentious than deep, the combat infuriating, and the map health and checkpoint system made me want to pull my hair out. Let me just say real briefly, hey man, like, people don't have to like the same fucking things. Like, you I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Sam Lake's writing isn't melodramatic. I've played Alan Wake, all right? Like, Like, come on. Sometimes it's fine. It's fine if you don't like the same game that I do. However, it should be noted that after 5 to 6 hours, things did get better for me over time, thanks to the inclusion of the later abilities and the story focused more on Jesse's overall goal. While I still have plenty of issues, by the end, I didn't see it as a waste of my time. Like with other more favorable games I've played, like The Witcher 3 and Persona 5, I considered dropping them early on, with them going on to be much more enjoyable all of a sudden. My question is, what are your thoughts on how long you should keep playing a game to see if it ends up turning around for you? And are there any examples you can think of great games having bad beginnings? Love the show. And as always, hope you're all safe and well. And that's Sam from the UK. Okay, let's start with talking about how long you should keep playing a game before you stop.
Well, it's funny because we mentioned very early on in this podcast that it's more difficult for us now because of the amount of time constraints we have nowadays. Mm-hmm. And that's what makes this a question a little tricky for me, because there are plenty of games that I've played that that I know got a lot better as time went on, like a lot farther in, like maybe 4 hours in. Like I think Death Stranding is a good example of that. Mm-hmm. Death Stranding is a game that in the beginning I liked it, but I liked it for how fucking weird it was. But I couldn't in earnest recommend it, that beginning part, to anybody, kind of thing. Like I had to be like, you just have to keep going until you get, like, just plow through the main story stuff until you get your bike the first time. Kind of thing.
That's where I was thinking, was that, like, the problem with Death Stranding is that Death Stranding, like, is fucked up in that, like, it stops you from getting to the point where the game gets better by being like, look over there, you should go do that. And it's like, okay, don't listen to the game, just do the main story missions. You can always come back and do that side shit once you have a fucking motorcycle that you can drive around the map.
It's like, come back to this. Like, I swear it gets better after this point, kind of thing. Yeah. And there's a lot of games like that are, you know, a lot of RPGs are really bad about that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Like, they start off really slow, and then as you progress through them, they get a lot better. Final Fantasy 13 was a game I constantly heard that about, but the time that people would say was so much longer than I was willing to deal with, that I just never never did it. Like I thought about it, but it's just so much fucking work. Kingdom Hearts 2 is another good example of that, because you have to deal with all of the fucking Roxas shit. Of just like, let's just hang out and be friends and get ice cream, and you're like, oh my god, and it goes on forever, kind of thing. And then when he finally gets into it, you're like, oh thank god, you finally get into the game, and that's like an hour or 2 hours, if not more, kind of thing to deal with. And it's weird, like when it comes to stuff like that. But there are plenty of games that just get into it like right away. Like I think Horizon is a great example of a game that just fucking gets into it like right away, kind of thing.
So my answer for this, it's funny, right before we started, I was talking about somebody who was fucking giving me shit in the comments about how, like, I judge games super fast. Here's the thing. I've played a lot of fucking video games. Like, I played a lot of video games over the course of my life. I haven't beaten maybe more video games than a lot of other people, right? But, like, I've played, 8 new games a week for 7.5 years straight of Rage Select.
Pretty much, yeah.
2 years of Spill before that. And then, like, I was a gamer before. It's not like I was hired. I was like, all right, let me figure out how a controller works. Like, I've been playing video games since there's never been a point in my life where I haven't been playing video games. And this is what I know, is that I know early on whether a game is going to be worth my time. Like, people will sometimes say, you know, like, oh, you have to play this RPG for, like, what you were just saying about Final Fantasy, which I think is totally wrong. 13, whoever told you that was lying.
Well, this was when it first came out. This was so long ago. Like, yeah.
But, like, the idea that, like, if you play this game for 15 hours, it gets fun. The idea that you couldn't see any trajectory where the game was going to be fun for 15 hours or for 10 hours or for 2 hours, to me, is ridiculous. Like, if a game is going to get good, you can tell if it's going to get good. Like you can sense it early on. You can be like, well, I don't know if I like this combat, but like I'm kind of interested in what's going on with the story, or like, well, the story isn't really hooking me, but I really like these characters, and so I'm going to go with that. Or like, you know what? Like this may not be my favorite game, but like the graphics are really good, and I'm just going to keep playing it just to see what's going on, because as near as I can tell, like games will pull you in, and I really, really, really hate this idea that people have where you have to do the work. You have to put in the work in order to get to the fun part of the game. Like, you know, they recently put Persona 4 Golden on Steam, right? And Chris and I were playing that, and it was like, okay, Persona 4 is a really fucking long game. But I think that Persona 4, it's slow, and sometimes I get frustrated because a game is slow when we're playing it for the show, right? Like, I want there to be something for people to watch. But like the beginning of Persona 4, you're getting to know these people. There's like this murder mystery. There's like this kind of dramatis persona. You get all these different characters. Like, what's the Midnight Channel? What are these spooky things going on? Persona 5, you know, the main character. It's like, what happened to the main character? What's going on? And I could see where there was value to playing those games. And I don't know. I mean, it's such a subjective question, but like,
it's a really difficult question. Yeah, because there's a lot of games that I know that I really love that took some getting into first. Like Wonderful 101 is a good example of that, because that game's very difficult in the beginning. But once you really get the hang of it, it gets really, really amazing. God Hand's another game like that, where it's kind of weird in the beginning, but once you really get into it, it's amazing. Like, it's a lot of the weirder games, a lot of the times. But there, like you said, there's something you see the value in some of them when you start on them. No More Heroes 1 is another good example, like, of how slow some of it is, but I love that game to death, kind of thing. Like, but it's so weird that way, yeah.
But you could see that, like when we were playing No More Heroes, it's like you could see the promise of what's to come with just like the insanity of the story and the way that it's set up. So yeah, I the thing is that I'm having a really hard time coming up with a game where I started playing the game and was like, I hate this game. And then after forcing myself to play the game for an extended period of time, I was like, JK, I'm super into it now. I mean, I don't know. That might have happened a long time ago. And let's be honest, we're in the second half of a 2-hour podcast, so I can be real with you, motherfucker, since nobody's really listening. Like, the internet has browbeat me a bunch of times over the course of my fucking Quotey Fingers career about just like, how dare you not like the thing that I like? And like, I keep coming back to Final Fantasy VII Remake this year, and it's just like, if you don't have the nostalgia for Final Fantasy, I think the combat system in that game is bad. I think it's a bad RPG system. Like,
that's another game I forgot even came out this year.
Yeah, like it feels bad to play that system. And you know, like with Kingdom Hearts, like a lot of these games that I feel like RPGs that are super long, or with Assassin's Creed Valhalla, right? Like Chris and I played, I don't know, like an hour and 20 minutes of that game, and it was just like, okay, Vikings. Like, why? I mean, I don't give a fuck. Like, what do I care? This is Vikings. Apparently, the opening of that game is super long, or it's the reason I could never get into Assassin's Creed Odyssey, where apparently it's got all this gods and mystics and this crazy stuff, but it starts with, like, your fucking friend ripped off a goat farm from this, like, tax collector, and these dudes roust you, and I'm just like, why do I care about any of this? I don't understand. Whereas, you know, the beginning of Assassin's Creed 2, where fucking Ezio Auditore is getting chased out of having an affair with some lady, and then the dude comes out of the street, and you're like, hey, this is a fucking tutorial right here.
I was just thinking about that. Yeah, Assassin's Creed 2 is such an insane game from beginning to end.
Yeah,
like, the final boss of Assassin's Creed 2 is a fist fight with the Pope.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a word. That's a sentence I said that happens in a game. And I love it for that very reason.
Assassin's Creed 1 might be a good example of a game where, like, I really wasn't sure about it, and then it kind of grew on me a little bit more the more I played it. But even that game,
I could definitely see 1 being like that, yeah.
But even Assassin's Creed, like, when you start it, maybe you're not into fucking Altair, but, you know, the climbing, the traversal, that was all, like, I'd never seen anything like that before. It was amazing. So, it's like they caught me with the mechanics, and then they drew me further into the story as it went on, and then of course they threw the story away and went crazy. So I don't know.
Yeah,
like I'm having a really hard time coming up with something that I actively didn't like playing, because it's like I don't like to play games I don't like to play, and I know that sometimes that leads me to not liking the games that other people liked, or liking games that people don't like, but. I don't know, like it's like when we were playing not this coming up Patreon video, but the Patreon video before, we were playing Spider-Man Miles Morales, and I was just like, oh my god, I just realized how bad of a game Avengers is as I play this just joy of a game with these wonderful graphics and these wonderful characters and all this great music, and Avengers is just like, yeah, this is fine. But
yeah, because Avengers had the opposite sort of thing to me, whereas like I really enjoy this, but the longer it went on, the more I was like, "Oh, this is bad," kind of thing. Like, and then Spider-Man reminded me of like exactly just how not very like polished that game is, kind of thing. Like the combat still feels great in the game like that, but I don't know. It's been so long since I've had that moment where I bought a game and I wasn't a big fan of it, but I forced myself to go through it, because I did that a lot when I was younger because I only had so much money. So if we got a game and it turned out to be kind of bad and we just sort of went along with it.
Yeah.
Like that's why I had Batman Forever for the Super Nintendo, and I played the shit out of it, and that game's awful because I had to. I didn't have any money to buy another fucking game, kind of thing. And that happens, like, a lot, mostly when you're younger. But when you get older, yeah, you find yourself just going, I don't really like this, and then you just stop.
I think that right now, I think that this year there's been a little bit of weirdness, because I think that you and I we talked about this before, where like if you go back and look at the games that came out this year, I don't know that there were quite as many like super cool spike moments like we have in a normal year, where it's just like, a lot of it is just the games that came out, right? So like Final Fantasy VII Remake came out, everybody was jazzed for it, and I was like, all right, show me what you got, and I didn't care for it. Last of Us 2 came out, and everybody was super jazzed for it, and I was like, I just don't care for this. Another huge ass Assassin's Creed game came out, and I'm just like, I haven't been interested in this franchise for a while now, so like Spider-Man is a good example of just like, I feel like we used to have in normal years, there would be like 7 or 8 Spider-Man quality games that come out over the course of the year, whereas here it was like, oh, here's Avengers, it's finally out, and it's like, well, it sucks. It's like,
it's like, well, it's okay, like at best. And
here's
Watch Dogs. We had someone that I really like, that did come out that I did really enjoy, like Crash Bandicoot. Hades finally came out, that was really good. Doom Eternal I liked, but not as much as I liked the last one, kind of thing.
Yep.
But that happened with a lot of stuff this year for me. Even though it's still been a good year for games. Like, I'm not going to pretend that these games are like just trash or something, kind of thing. But it's not like 2018, where 2018 spoiled the shit out of us. 2018 had fucking God of War and Spider-Man and all these other fucking games. Like, it was a year where you're like, what's going to be game of the year? Because I have no idea, kind of thing. And 2019 was pretty good too, with what we had too.
Hitman
but this
2
year's just been kind of interesting.
2018 Hitman 2?
I think so, but I know like this year, we've had a lot of remakes this year, like a lot of remakes this year.
Yeah.
Like we had Resident Evil 3 remake, we had
Final Fantasy 7
remake,
Demon Souls.
The Demon Souls remake. They remade Fire Emblem, kind of thing. Like there's just a lot that got remade this year, and it was interesting. But like, whether or not you would consider them bad because they're remakes, I don't know. But like, it's weird that way this year. A lot more remakes than there were sequels somehow. But I don't know.
I don't think
how it goes from there.
I don't think remakes hit as hard as when you play a brand new game. Because you've technically already played. Or a lot of remakes, you've already played them, so it's like what's going to happen. But anyway, let's speed it up a little bit. If we do that, we're only going to get through 2 questions. No, that's all right. Jonathan writes in and says, hey guys, as a renewed gamer after a long hiatus, my gaming backlog is quickly growing. I find myself jumping around between games more than finishing a game. Sometimes I'm distracted by newer games, either on sale or recommended, and other times it's burnout/fatigue in the same game. What's your strategy towards your personal backlog and any games you've meant to finish but still haven't. Cheers, Jonathan. Jonathan, so many games I've meant to finish but I have not.
Yeah, we're the wrong people to ask this specific question to, because I still haven't. I told myself I was going to fucking finish Ace Attorney 6, and I didn't. I got halfway through the game, and I was like, I'll come back to this, and I didn't.
Yeah.
I still never beat Horizon Zero Dawn. Like, I bought it a year or two ago, and I still haven't finished it.
I have finished more games than Michael, but even I don't like. It's one of the reasons that I complain so much about the game length is because, okay, when I started doing this, it used to be that 20 hours was a real fucking long game. Like, I think that, how long was, like, Dragon Age 2? How long was Dragon Age 2?
I don't remember, because everyone said it was the same dungeon over and over again, if I remember correctly.
Let's see. Let's go to how long to beat and see, like, how long was Dragon Age 2? My internet's sucking up a storm today. How long is Dragon Age 2? Main story 26.5 hours. Main story plus extra 37.5 hours. Okay, well that's not doing a lot for my argument, but I don't know. I feel like single player games have become 12 to 20 hours, and RPGs have become like 60 to 100 hours. And a lot of this is just a shift in the industry. So like it used to be that if I had an interest in a game, if I was like, you know what? 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim seems kind of interesting. I wonder, I'll try to beat it. And it's like, yeah, I just looked that up, and like the main story is 30 hours, right? Like it's the size of Dragon Age 2, this Vanillaware game, this visual novel / weird tactics game.
That's the thing. Yeah, games are getting longer and longer, but our schedules are not, kind of thing. Like,
yeah,
I only have so much time nowadays, so a lot of games that I even that I liked that I never finished. Like, I got maybe a quarter into Persona 5, maybe if I'm lucky to say, kind of thing, and I just never got back to it because I was like, I don't know if I have the time for this, unfortunately.
I did the same. You know what? There was a time when back in several years ago when Tokyo Mirage Session Sharp FE came out, right? And like I made a decision that what I was going to do on Friday and Saturday night was sit on my couch with a 6-pack and just play Tokyo Mirage Session Sharp FE for like 6 hours straight Friday, 6 hours straight on Saturday, and it was like 3 or 4 weeks to beat, right? But like that's every game. Like I can't beat games. I had to make it. I mean, I liked Yakuza Like a Dragon, but it was 60 hours to beat, and that's a lot of fucking video game. Like, I had to make a decision between like, am I going to play like I was telling you earlier, am I going to play Assassin's Creed Valhalla or Watch Dogs Legion or Immortals Phoenix Rising? Like, I only have time for one of those games. I cannot play all 3 of those games before the year is out, right? Especially with Cyberpunk. I have no idea what to do with Cyberpunk. So Jonathan, I'll be honest with you. What I do now is like if a game is good, I know it because I play it habitually. I'm like a drug addict. I just keep playing it. I'll stay up too late. I won't sleep enough. And I'll just every moment I'll be like, I want to get back to that game. I want to get back to that game. Hades was like that, where like I just kept fucking playing Hades. Like if I had, like an extra 15 minutes to spare, I'd boot up Hades and do a run or two and see how far I could get in it. And I knew that was a special game because I couldn't stop playing it. So honestly, I just feel like you should wait for those games where you're just like, I can't stop playing this game. I have to see what happens, and then play those games. A
lot of backlog stuff is difficult because you keep like sometimes your mind will be like, I want to finish this one thing, and you can try your best. Like just don't like try to get as far as you can without getting burnt out. I guess if you really want to try to get through them all. I think the second you feel like you're about to burn out, like go back to one of the other ones and then just sort of go back and forth between them until you feel like you're getting through them. Hell, I have whole comic books that I bought in graphic novel form that I still haven't gone through, kind of thing. Like my time is limited is the issue. Yeah.
Michael, I forgot that Ghost of Tsushima came out this year.
Yeah, Ghost of Tsushima came out this year. There's a lot of good stuff that came out this year with the remake stuff, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Okay, let's do some Discord questions. Dan K says, "Hey, Rage Select Crew, I'll keep it simple. I've recently purchased an Oculus Quest 2, upgrading from my Quest 1 and replaying my PC VR catalog. What are your thoughts on the current state of VR? Is it something you're still interested in?" You don't have a PSVR or any VR headset?
I don't. I keep meaning to try to get one or get something VR related.
You said it gives you a headache, though, right?
What's up?
You said it gives you a headache?
It can. But the thing is, I'm not too sure if it's... Because I can get motion sickness kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
The last time I played with a PSVR for a long period of time was at Chris's because he had the PSVR, and I played the that shooter for Until Dawn that they did a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I played it for a while. Like I didn't get a headache from it, but once I did, my body was just completely, utterly destroyed, kind of thing. Because it was just like, oh fuck, like But I'm so interested in the idea of VR. Like, in fact, I was, to bring up the Freakazoid thing that I was watching, there's an episode where they have, like, this VR setup where, like, you stand on it, you put on a VR helmet, and they give you, like, a fake gun. And I was like, man, we're closer to that than we've ever been.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Like, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I just kind of got, like, for me, it was a weird, like, space thing where, like, I had to store my PSVR when I wasn't using it, which means that in order to use it, I had to like get it out. And for a while, there was a pretty big drought. What I really want to get an Oculus Quest 2 and then see if I can't get Half-Life Alyx running on my PC through it, because I really want to play Half-Life Alyx. And I think that having an Oculus Quest 2 would actually be really good because I'd love to try stuff like the Vader game, the Vader Immortal game, and the Oculus Quest. I think the Quest 2 is actually a really good product because it's inexpensive, and then you don't have to have a super good computer to play on it, right? Like the amount of computer that you need to play some of these PC games, I'm just like, you know what, Michael? If I could buy an RTX 3070, I might, or a 3060 Ti. We didn't even go over that story. They released another one, and it sold out. Yeah, that came out yesterday. They're gone, and they're gone.
That's fast.
Yeah. So. I think VR is still a thing. I think it's going to be interesting. I don't know. I still think it's in the niche category. I just don't think there are enough companies that are pushing VR support. I wish there was more VR support for bigger games. Like I wish that something like Godfall just had a VR mode where you could just play it. Or, for example, you know that Chronos game that we played, right? That game was an Oculus game, and you remember how Oculus did that thing where for the first year they locked up a bunch of developers that made Oculus exclusive games. So I feel like the industry is just muddying the waters.
Yeah, that's really the only issue VR has right now is there isn't enough AAA games that are willing to use it.
Yeah.
Like imagine like a Call of Duty game that like goes full on with the VR like options. Like that would be amazing. Like a lot of people would love like stuff like that. Hell, like the fact that the Star Wars Squadrons came out, and they're like, hey, you can use a flight stick with this, and those things sold out like immediately.
Yeah, like
all people want is something to use with it, and those things will sell out. That's really all it comes down to.
I think part of the flight sticks was Microsoft Flight Simulator as well, though.
Well, that's what I mean. Like all you need is something that's worth it. Kind of thing to get it for. And the issue is that VR hasn't completely gotten enough things where people feel like it's a good investment. Like there's some decent stuff on there. Like hell, even that Star Wars game that I mentioned is pretty good, for VR kind of thing. And so if we're lucky, more stuff will, be used that way. But that's up to the companies. Really, is what it comes down to.
Yeah. Let's see. Mike writes in and says, hello, Jeff and Michael. Why is getting decent commuter rail such a pain in the ass in North America? It's stupidly expensive in Canada and incredibly slow in America. The news of the inefficient Hyperloop system being tested on the public's dime got me annoyed tonight. Sorry, not a game question. Hope you folks are having a good one. And that's from Mike. I wanted to take this question. because I have an answer for it. And
it's Christopher Lloyd's fault from Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
It actually is. It actually is. Like, go back and listen to the speech that Judge Doom gives at the end. That happened. Like, corporations bought up public transit in the United States.
Exactly what happened.
And sunsetted it to make the United States drive cars because they wanted everybody to drive so they could sell them cars. Like, that literally
I love
happened.
that entire speech that he does, because you're like, wait, that's actually really diabolical and pretty much what happened.
Yeah.
And I love his whole reaction to it. He's like, that's stupid. Why would anyone do anything like that?
I bought the red car so I could dismantle it. But basically that's it, is that like urban planning, a lot of it is because in America there was enough space to build out instead of up. So there wasn't as much population density. So they were able to create cities in America like Los Angeles that didn't sprout up from an old colonial city that was made for like horses and buggies and people to walk around in. It was built with the intention that people were going to own a car to get around in it, and so that's what they did. And
half of Texas is built like that, like if not more.
All of Texas,
like I lived in San Antonio, and it was literally impossible to get anywhere without a car.
Yeah,
it just was.
I mean, you could take a bus, but it sucks. Like,
oh no, absolutely.
Nothing.
Hell, San Antonio's buses only came once every hour.
Yeah,
and whereas Austin's at least kind of tries to be here once every half an hour, so that's like a little better. But even then, it's impossible. It sucks so bad. It's such a pain in the ass.
I lived in Seattle. They had a really good public transit in Seattle. So I was able, after I wrecked my car, I was able to take the bus to work every day, and that was actually relatively reasonable. But part of that was because I worked for Microsoft, and when you work for the Microsoft campus in Redmond, they give you a big sticker that goes on the back of your entry badge that is a go anywhere on the bus pass. Like, it's an infinity bus pass. You can use it any time to get on any bus for free. Weekends, holidays, doesn't matter. It's just an infinity bus pass. Yeah. But that's the reason. Marble says, hey, Rage Crew, when it comes to collectibles, what's your preference? Do you like hard to find, far and few dripped in lore, or the hundreds of easy to find knickknacks and the usual collectathons? Oh, you're talking about like in video games. Maybe a mix of the two. Keep up with the amazing work. Till next time, Marble out. What's your collection?
I'm a big fan of lore, like lore collectibles, like stuff that builds the world. Like, I'm a big fan of finding, because I know Lords of Shadow did this, where there's like a bunch of dead bodies, and if you find them, like, you get XP from it. But he opens like a little scroll, and it'll have like flavor text to be like, "This is how this person died," kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And it's a lot of cool stuff like that, that added to the world and the sense of like the state of the world. And I really like that. I always love stuff like that, stuff that builds on top of it, especially if it's fairly easier to find. Kind of thing. Like I remember which game was it? I was playing recently that had a bunch of those. I think it's Doom Eternal, because you can get a bunch of those collectibles that will tell you the state of the world, kind of thing, and they're like, oh, here's a news story about what's going on in like a hell on earth situation, kind of thing.
Yep.
And I love little things like that. Like, they're so much fun because it feels like that world is more lived in. I really feel is part of it.
I, generally speaking, for me, the fewer the better. I'm not a fan of like a bajillion collectibles.
Okay.
I like it when the collectibles do something, but more than anything else, I want your video game to give me the ability to just show me on the map where the thing is. And I was actually just thinking of Ghost of Tsushima and how the Traveler thing, it's like you could set it to a shrine, or like if you weren't going to a specific location, the Traveler clothes in Ghost of Tsushima, you could just say, send me to the nearest hot spring, and then the wind would just blow and you would just follow it to the Fox Den or a hot spring. So you were able to get everything. I got everything in that game before I deleted my save game and lost everything. I got everything and then I lost everything. But I generally like it when collectibles do something specific. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of like in Miles Morales how they have just like those like knickknacks, like look at this cool thing. Like I like it better when it's like an upgrade point or something. But mostly
it comes with those time. No, those come with little upgrade point things.
Do they have the upgrade point? I'm sorry.
Yeah, they're like I don't even remember what they're called, but they are like just as much. Like it's like the way the backpacks were in the last one, where like backpack tokens kind of thing. It's the same. It's the same deal.
Okay, that's cool. And one last question to round us out. Jonathan Scratch says, "Hello, Jeff and Michael. Is Yakuza Like a Dragon the best Final Fantasy / Dragon Quest game in years? Because it certainly looks like it. Also, I'd like to apologize for my last question about simping. I did not fully grasp the shitty connotations of the term and didn't mean to insult anybody. That's okay, Jonathan Scratch.
I saw him comment on that. He's like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. I'm like, dude, I get it.
It's fine.
I don't know. Like, we were joking about the fact that we don't understand what anything means, and that's exactly what happened to you.
Yeah. So I beat Yakuza Like a Dragon, and yes, it is the best Final Fantasy game I've played in a long time. It's a turn-based RPG. It's got wonderful characters. It's got a fantastic storyline. I just told Michael spoilers yesterday. I was just like...
It sounded batshit insane, guys, but that's kind of Yakuza in general.
Yeah, like it's got great characters. It's got a fun story. It's got a really good battle system. It's just a turn-based battle system. Like, it actually made me hate Final Fantasy VII even more because of the way that Square made that dumb shit real-time system where, like, I cannot get over the fact that, like, when you switch to your healer, all of the enemies immediately just turn in aggro onto whatever player you are controlling. It's like, there's no reason to have a fucking party if, like, the AI is so frustrating, Michael. The AI can't build up the gauge to be able to support you with healing spells, so you have to take over Aerith to manually build up the bar to do healing spells. But, like, the minute you transfer from Cloud to Aerith, you literally see, like, the fucking boss you're trying to fight just disengage from the AI, turn and come at you. It's like, what kind of RPG is this? Like, it's terrible RPG. I hate it. I feel like I'm picking
that system literally that they set up would work better if it was a multiplayer game.
Yes, or anything, or I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me. Yakuza Like a Dragon was great. It had great loyalty quests. It had great side quests. It had this fucking business empire. I played the Mario Kart almost all the way to the end. The Mario Kart mini game that's in there. Like,
oh, okay.
There's totally this Mario Kart mini game, and of course, there's a bunch of crazy cookie.
You didn't tell me about the Mario Kart mini game.
There's Mario Kart mini.
You mentioned the board meetings mini game to me,
dude. The board meeting mini game where you have to fend off the complaints of investors is amazing. I love it. It's so fun. Like,
that's fucking crazy shit.
It's great. There's like random dungeons. There's fan service, but just enough fan service. There's like a brand new game. It like moves the story forward of Yakuza, and it turns a third-person action game into a turn-based role-playing game. For fuck's sake! And the enemies in this role-playing game are bizarre and crazy, and like they're just so nuts. It's so cool, and I love it. And like, yeah, I played that game. I didn't get tired of it, even though I played it for 60 hours. I felt a little bit of stress in having to like finish it because I felt like I needed to get it off my plate. But like, I enjoyed every second of it. I think it's an amazing game. Like, what was it? What was John playing? I was watching him on social media where he was playing. It was like Assassin's Creed, maybe. And
I think so.
And he just wasn't liking it. And he wasn't liking it. And then suddenly he just started posting photos from Yakuza Like a Dragon. And he was like, I'm really enjoying this a lot more. And I was like, hell yeah, you are. Like, there's okay. So when you when you beat certain minigame or certain places in the game, you get summons. You get literally Final Fantasy summons, and they're called Pound Mates. Like, it's an app on your phone, not Postmates. It's called Pound Mates, where you can pay people to come tag in and fight for you, and they do these like limit break attacks. And in one of them, you find the guys that like to dress up in diapers and be like, that's like infant thing where like grown-ups will dress up in diapers and they'll have like a woman take care of them and like kind of cosplay as being a baby. And there's one where you could summon the gang boss that leads the guys in diapers that are babies, and like the lady comes out with her apron and she tries to give him a bottle and he shakes his head, and then she tries to like give him a toy and he like shakes his head, and then he like flops down on his back, and up on the screen it says like big baby energy, and he like wails and cries, this grown man, and it does like a stun attack on all the enemies that are on the screen.
Oh my god.
There's one of these summon attacks where you bring in like a hail of crawfish that snip at the enemies, and you get this from a mission where a guy loses his crawfish and you've got to go find it, and his name is like Mr. Snips, and you've got to like it's called like Madeline or Geraldine or something like that. You've got to like examine all these different crawfish. Like there's a job system that's better than any Final Fantasy I played in like years, except that like at one point my party was made up by a breakdancer, a pop idol, a construction worker, and like a chef, and they were like
Jesus Christ.
I switched Ichi over to being a host, and his attacks were like he would pull out a rose and give fuck me eyes to the enemies, and it would charm some of them and also do fire damage. And I'm like, it's amazing. You guys should all go play this game. It's fucking incredible. Like it's so good.
That's so fucking crazy.
Yeah,
I love that series, or those creators just in general for their sense of humor.
They're so good.
The Fist of the North Star game they made even had a lot of weird jokes. Like the bartender section is really funny.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite bartender drink he makes is called the You're Already Drunk. And it just makes me laugh every fucking time he makes it. And it's just like, that's amazing.
Yeah, I don't know. It's absolutely fantastic. The only thing is that there was a mini game where you had to answer test questions to raise your like charm and personality stats and stuff like that. And I just looked them all up online. I wasn't about to like trial and error my way through like 14 different test subjects. But one of those tests was about like Sega lore, and it was like, who's the main character from Virtua Fighter? And it had like Akira, Nina, like all the different characters. And I was like, I know that one. So Yakuza's great. You know what else is great? It's When Michael's over at oneofus.net. You can check him out over there. He's great. You can also go to mail@ragesite.com, or maybe not. Maybe this is the end of questions. Maybe we'll just take Discord questions from now on. But yes, and with that, it is 11 o'clock at night. I'm exhausted.
Oh, yeah.
I have to go get like a Wendy's chicken sandwich or something, or some Hawaiian food, like, I don't know, some crawfish. I don't know what I'm going to eat tonight. I don't know what's going to happen, but it's got to happen right now. I hope you guys have had a great time. Podcast out. That's what I say now. So podcast out.